Hey, thanks again for joining us here on the Gill Athletics Track and Field Connections podcast. I am super excited for today's guest. Please help me welcome the man. I don't know why I'm calling you the man, but you are for some reason. You have that vibe for me. Clyde Morgan, head coach of Wabash College in the beautiful state of Indiana. Clyde, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. You're kind of like my neighbor. We're in Champaign, Illinois. You're in Wabash. I don't even know. I haven't been to Wabash. How long would it even take to drive over?
To get to the exit, it's like 54 minutes.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's helped us to just drive over to you guys' place.
I was just about to say, you just made me feel bad. You're an hour away, and I've never been. It's egg on my face. When this whole thing gets done, we're going to correct that. I'm going to come over and visit with you guys and check out.
Hey, stop through, man.
Stop through. See, what you just said there is no one goes to Wabash. You're going somewhere else and you stop through. That's what you just said.
Hey, and you leave there and you go into bigger and better things, man.
Well, I'm excited to learn about the bigger and better things that you're doing and have been doing there at Wabash. I thought maybe we would start, kind of get back in our Wayback Machine. Let's go back to Clyde's. I always hate speaking in the third person, but let's go to Clyde's, maybe high school. I don't know. You tell us, where do we start? Where does track and field as an athlete start for you?
Oh, man. Summer track when I was probably, I want to say 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And I was football was first, and then track came along. My brother, who was a phenomenal hurdler, state champion from Youngstown Cheney, 1990, and I came out 95. But it was one of those deals where he was doing it, so his little brother wanted to try it.
Right, yeah.
And because he was hurdling, I wanted to try it, and I started then and fell in love with the sport ever since.
So I have a little bit of, first of all, I love hurdlers. My very, very first ever email address back in the day, it was Hurdle Love. That was
Nice.
at Hotmail. I just was like, what am I going to pick? I don't know. I love hurdles. How about Hurdle Love? You said your brother graduated 90, you came out in 95. I was a 94 graduate, so we're roughly the same age. Right around that time, if I remember correct, Chris Nellums was an Ohio track runner, sprinter, hurdler. Is that kind of the same time frame?
They went at it in the 110s, but Chris didn't run 300s because he was running a 4 and a 2.
Right.
And my brother, who's an intense competitive guy, he says it now. He'll go, "Thank God Chris didn't run the 300s." I mean, Marco was a 36 flat guy, and he said Chris could have run 35 if he wanted to.
I believe that. Yeah. I got to see him run a few times, and holy cow. Oh, yeah. He reminds me a lot of, do you remember Ted Ginn up in Glenville? Ted and I became friends. I had him at the Olympic Training Center when he was in high school, and then recruited him when I was at Mississippi State. Here's the, I'll give you kind of, this is a behind the scenes, no one ever knows this. So when I got to Mississippi State, I went to our football coaches, to the DB coach, and I was like, hey, you need to recruit this kid. Like, we certainly want him for track, but he's also Ohio State's looking at him, blah, blah, blah. And the coach, and even if I remembered his name, I wouldn't say it because I wouldn't want to embarrass him. But the coach looks at me and goes, yeah, he's 5'10". I kind of like mine to be 6 foot or taller. Now, two things are incorrect with this. One is, I don't think we had a single DB on the Mississippi State team that was 6 feet. So I don't know.
Right.
I'm sure he wanted them to be 6, but they were not 6. Second of all, we were not good at the time. So to kind of like lift your nose up to Ted Ginn. And then, by the way, he's the USA Today defensive player of the year. It's kind of like, really, he's not good enough for us, but he's good enough for Ohio State?
Right.
Interesting.
I know the Ginn family well through summer track. We go to Cleveland a lot from Youngstown. And his sister, Tiffany, actually went to college with my wife and I.
Yeah, is that right?
She ran 800. She's on the track team with me.
And I, his dad, Ted Sr., what a great guy. What a disciplinarian, but also, work hard and have fun. I mean, golly, I just loved all, he had a bunch of kids at football and track, and they were just awesome and awesome people. And Ted Ginn Jr., to this day, if he would have stayed in track, I honestly believe this. I think he would have set the world record in the hurdles. It's easy for me to say because he He didn't stick with track, but I saw that kid do some things when we had him at the training center that I was just flabbergasted. I mean, flabbergasted. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Ted and those guys. So he grew up in Youngstown. Big brother's running track. So did he go on to do college track, or what was his?
Yeah, he and that's what, I wasn't thinking about college, where I grew up. No one had ever gone to college. My parents never finished, got past 11th grade. And I was the baby of 5, and my sister graduated and went to cosmetology. Then was my brother was up next, and he got recruited by everyone, and he ended up going running 2 years at Blinn College.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
In Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And was national champ twice there. And then he went on to run for George Williams at St. Aug and was a multiple-time national champion.
Wow.
And so being a young guy, I'm watching this, and I want to do what he was doing. But, I was nowhere near the hurler he was, but he was nowhere near the football player I was.
Oh, nice. I love that. Good,
it worked out. But just watching his path, it's crazy. I tell people all the time, if he would start doing negative things, I probably would have did negative things. But my brother started doing the right things and got into sports. I said, well, let me do that. So just watch it. He never preached to me, but I was smart enough to watch what he was doing and try to mimic it.
What a great example of there's always someone watching. And being affected by how you do things, carry yourself, say things, etc. Whether it's your little brother by family, whether it's the kid down the block, whether it's someone on Twitter, whatever, someone's always watching. You were always an example for someone, negatively or positively. I'm so thankful that Marco did do the right things. Again, we, just like you looked at Marco and was like, oh, okay, track, let's go do track. Oh, college? He went to college? Okay, I'll go to college. You guys must have had some example, even though maybe mom and dad didn't go to college, they must have been in life, active and disciplined and things like that, loving. Were they the example? Was there a teacher, a coach?
My mom, dad was there, but he was quiet, disciplinarian, tough guy. All right. But my mom was that and all of the above, man. She, I won't put her past this, but she's still, we went back to town for her birthday, 4th of July, and I got in trouble 3 times. and my kids love it. I love it too.
She's always mom. I don't care how old you are. She is always mom. That's awesome. Hey, that's a great example. That tells me how she was with you guys growing up. Absolutely.
And it had to do with the charcoal in the grill. but that's her. She was the one, man.
Awesome.
She put that don't break attitude in us. I think about every time I want to complain about something, I go, how did this woman raise 5 kids who never been in any jail or any trouble, who were in a not so good environment? How does she do that off the little bit of money that she had? And I never got everything I wanted, but I had everything I needed. So I tell the people all the time, the older I get, I start learning. There's a piece of me. The older I get, I go, man, these things are coming out. It's Joyce. It's my mom. And I'll kind of check myself like, oh my God, I'm sounding just like her. Or I'm doing things that she used to do. When I'm talking to my kids or those things, that she would play with your head. I remember I got a bad grade, and she knew I liked the ladies, right? I probably was 9th grade, and she said, I knew I was gonna be on. I thought I was gonna be on punishment, right? She goes, "No, you're not gonna be on punishment. Keep getting those bad grades, because I don't know any girls that like guys with bad grades."
Dude, mom's like psychological warfare.
Man, He was rough with it, and that's all she had to say. That was all she had, and she's always good at little things like that, and it got you straightened up.
Dude, I like that. I got 2 kids. That just went into the memory bank. I'm going to remember that one. I don't know much about Youngstown, although I've read a few articles about Maurice Claret, who grew up in Youngstown. And they kind of paint the picture that Youngstown At least then when Maurice, and he would be roughly our age-ish, a little bit younger, was, kind of a rundown area. So there had to be, and they talked about a lot of Maurice Claret's negative influences. So you guys had to have negative, coming at you. But the family sounds like it kind of, almost circled the wagons and took care of each other with mom and dad kind of leading the charge.
And it's true, because one thing about Youngstown, it really didn't matter which side of town. When I think about it as an adult, that you were on, you were going to be facing some of that stuff, and because I did have a temper young and was willing to throw these hands with anyone, the wrong people started recognizing that. So then you got a gang over here is probably saying, hey, let's get this guy, which I dealt with, but I'm glad the two gangs that did get me was football and track.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you mentioned football, and what a great segue with Maurice Claret. So tell me about football. You said brother might have had the leg up on track and hurdling, but you had the leg up on football. You were the better football player. What position did you play, and how did football go in high school?
I was a running back at Youngstown Cheney, and was blessed. Man, we had a big line. I was a track guy with some speed and had some holes to run through. But as fast as my brother was, he couldn't catch a cold. He just wasn't a good football player. He was 100 miles per hour on defense, and that guy that just couldn't break down and those things. But when I went to college, I started running back for 2 years, then moved to safety. But I initially at Youngstown Cheney, I played running back there, in a great tradition under Ron Burtis, who's an Ohio legend. I'll tell you what, tough as nails, discipline-wise, and I didn't like it at the time, but man, did I need it. And there was a lot of us that needed, and they kept us correct.
Talk to us about, being a high-level football player and a high-level track athlete. As track coaches, big generalization here, but all of us would say, I mean, what's a better complementary sport for track and football? Each other. You get faster, your linemen throw, so they become more athletic. However, we also see where, like a lot of football programs, you got to be in football 365 days a year. It seems like you were able to make those complementary. How did that work? Was it always a foregone conclusion you were going to do track? Did you ever get pressured into just doing football?
I got that pressure, I want to say my junior year, a little bit in high school to do that. And that wasn't going to happen. It was good for me. It was a good balance of quality of life for me, and it didn't burn me out. Because I was smart enough young to see there were some guys that did that, and it burnt them out. And I knew they weren't going to make it through college in both. So it just, for me, it was just take the mental aspect out of it, what they both do for each other and the physical things. But it was just a fresh, just fresh air, for me. Just okay, football season over. Now we're going on the track. When you get to the point where you're tired of going over these hurdles and doing these workouts, okay, now that's over. Now let's get back on the grass. It was just a great balance for me. And that just helped my attitude for both sports, because I'm gonna tell you what, I don't care what you say. I don't care how passionate you are about a sport. It gets to a point where you're like, I need a break, And so I personally don't understand how a lot of these athletes do that in one sport, especially high school kids. I truly don't understand that.
Not to jump ahead to today, let's just put a pin right there on high school, but something you said there about, athletes, and you get to, no matter how much passion, et cetera, you get to a point where it's just, I just need a break, right? And you either, one way or the other, you're going to have a break. Either the body is going to get injured and you're going to be forced into a break, or you consciously take a break. I have that same kind of feeling, my experience with talking to coaches around the country with the profession of coaching, specifically coaching track and field. And I almost think, while I absolutely hate, and I'm gutted that we did not have an outdoor season and that we didn't get to finish the indoor season correctly, fully, I get the sense from talking to coaches and seeing things like the coaches collab, seeing the hunger for podcast, social media, that track coaches almost, and everybody's a little different because of how long they've been in their careers and such, but almost that coaches got up to that point of, I'm gonna break. This is not sustainable. To, fall training into indoor season, into outdoor season, right back into recruiting. The kids are back on campus. Fall season, spring indoor season. It's just there is no break. So I'm hopeful that this unconscious break, or this unpurposeful. We didn't make the break.
Right.
That this takes coaches, they've been able to take a step back, maybe work on their craft, which I know they have for, again, coaches collab and things like that. It's been amazing. But maybe this has kind of reignited the fire of, oh yeah, this is my profession. This is my career. I can't wait till 2021 now and get back with the kids and coach and do things right. And also through their own families, making sure that it's not all about being on the track. It is being with your families and taking care of your mental health, physical health, etc. So sorry, that just made me think about that when you talk about the athletes. I just see that in today's world with coaches.
That's spot on. I always would tell my coaches to find some time to get away from it, man. Get away from it. Don't open up anything on social media. Don't watch any videos. Get away from it and refresh yourself. We obviously tell our athletes that, but we got to practice what we're preaching. Because early in my career, I was guilty of. I was overdoing it, and I said, if I want to be in this 30+ years, I got to understand how to pace this a little bit and be smarter about it.
I love that you said that. We do tell our athletes that, hey man, get away. Hey, take this weekend off. Hey, you don't need to run this weekend. Just go play Tiddlywinks this weekend or whatever. Mm-hmm. And yet we don't ever do that as coaches. Yeah. Yep. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll come back to that as we move through the process. So back to our pen. You're in high school. You're doing really good as a running back and as a hurdler. When did the thought come in mind that, I can do this in college? Like, when did that start coming about? And then how did the process go in regards to picking the college that you went to?
That came about. Ohio State used to host the indoor state meet.
Yeah.
And I really didn't want to go to it. We had indoor. I used to hurdle in the hallways and those things. And I was always about preparation. And I was being negative because of my facility, being a kid. Mm-hmm. And didn't really want to go. So my summer track coach, Lawrence Underwood, kept saying, no, you need to do this. It'll be good for you. And I'm like, I'm over 300 hurdler. Like, let me run a 400 or something. He said, mm-hmm. No, you need to hurdle. And it really hit me. I won it out of lane 8, outside lane, the 55-meter hurdles. I stole it from some studs. I'm not going to say their names, but I'll just say this. Outdoor in the 110s, in that same group, I didn't make the final.
Oh, man.
So I hit the gun and I stole the thing, and I was laughing. Because I knew I had no reason. That wasn't supposed to happen. And then it kind of just hit me like, maybe I can do this, And my brother started talking to me a little bit more about, try to go somewhere you can do both, and don't be afraid to take that challenge. And so it was then where I said, you know what, let's try to make this happen. And so I got serious. I started filling out questionnaires because a lot of them I just threw them away, and I started filling out questionnaires, and the process started. But I knew I didn't want it to be a long process. I was that type of kid. I want to figure out what I was going to do and just go do it.
And you for sure wanted to do both? There was never a thought, hey, on the next level, let's just focus on one or the other?
Yeah, and early in those conversations with some coaches, that I shut it down respectfully because they told me straight up, some bigger schools I couldn't do both, or they try to blow smoke at me. And the neighborhood I grew up in, I can smell a hustler. I got some uncles, man, that can hustle, So they were just feeding me smoke. And when they would say I could do both, I would say, well, how does that look? How does this process look? And hey, can I talk to some guys that's done 4 years of both, vice versa?
Oh man, wait a minute. You were a 17, 18-year-old kid asking these questions? Holy cow. Bravo.
I told you what I grew up around, man.
Yeah. I mean, most kids, I hate to be generalizing here, but, most 17, 18-year-old kids, they're going to ask the question, hey, can I do both? Coach says, yeah. And then that's it. Okay. Hey, coach told me, yeah. Yeah. And in the real world, you would hope that that is all you would need. But we're talking about the real world here. Wow. Way to get to the next, they talk about peeling the onion. Way to get to the next layer, the next layer. Oh, that's cool. Can I talk to someone?
And that's how, like, now when we tell these athletes they can do football and track here at Wabash, I tell them that, and I say, well, let me tell you why. Tell them about the schedule and the process and the football coaches. And then I give them a list of guys that are currently doing both and guys who have did both 4 years. And I say, hey, by the way, you'll get to go eat lunch with them, and ask them about their experience, and those things, because I'm going to put it out there and make sure they know it's real.
Yeah.
We're not being fake about it. So I was able to pick up on that young man, and I was asking them hard questions.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped my decision on some places.
And where did you end up going?
I did. I went to Teal College.
Teal College. So what was it about them? Was it the track staff or the football staff or a combination that you just knew this was the right place to be?
It was Bill Ross, who left my sophomore year, went to Allegheny, and turned their cross and track programs around, and now he's currently the AD there. But it was Bill Ross. His calls and coming to meets and just being straight up. He was on the football staff.
Okay.
And it was the conversations. And then to be honest with you, like I knew I could make it there academically. That wasn't an issue. But coming from Youngstown, going to a small college town like Greenville, I wanted to make sure there's going to be somebody there that took care of me, when times got dark. And I felt that with him and his wife. And then that got a step got on that when I got to football camp. And keep in mind, I was running back, but I connected with this crazy Italian man. I love him to death. He's like a dad to me, Coach Frank Amato. If my phone rung right now, you need me to go to Greenville, PA.
Done.
We're gonna do this podcast on the phone, my man.
Wow.
I'm on the way.
Okay.
And love him to death. And he just wrapped me up, and I wasn't even on the defense side of the ball. And that I knew the second week at camp, I'm like, okay, this is good.
Wow.
And it had nothing to do with the football aspect or the track. It was the people. Yeah.
I hear that lesson, when we look back on things, so we have the essence of time and experience. I hear that is one of the biggest lessons of that was the people. Why did I go to X school? You know what? There was a person there that just connected with me. Why did you transfer here? You know what? I found what I was looking for in a person here. Yeah, absolutely. So what did you end up majoring in? What were you thinking academically, and how did that play into what, and maybe at 18 you didn't have any thoughts, but what you thought you might want to do one day for a career?
Follow my brother's footsteps again. I wanted to major in graphic arts, commercial arts and design. And because I took some of those courses at a place called Schaffen Career Center in Youngstown, Ohio, right next to Youngstown State. I took some of those classes during high school. The credits transferred. So it kind of put me ahead in college. So my advisor told me, hey, you can finish early, which I didn't want to do, or you can pick up something else. And I picked up elementary education. Okay. Love kids. Say, one day maybe I'll like to coach high school football and track or something. And I'll never forget the director of that department said, there's not many men in elementary education. So this is great. You're needed. So that inspired me to get after that major there.
Wow. When did, as you're going through your college career, well, let's stop there. So tell me about your college career. How did it go? We talked about how football and track, really played hand in hand in high school. Did you get the same experience? And you picked Teal for this, so hopefully the answer is yes. But did you get that same experience, and how did that work out through your college career?
It was spot on. There was never a time I felt I was getting pulled two different directions from those coaches. It was accepted there to do both, just like they said, and it worked out. Good. I had the career that the good Lord wanted me to have.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I did some special things in both sports. I tore my ACL and came back from it.
Wait a minute, Clyde. When most people say I did some special things, they don't, the first thing on that list is not I tore my ACL.
Best thing ever happened to me, man.
Now, I'm blessed to have not torn my ACL, but I've known some people. It hurts. It hurts your career. It hurts your athleticism. What do you mean this is the best thing that ever happened to you?
I've always been an adversity guy, man. Like it comes from my mom. I just don't, we don't back down and stuff. We don't get uncomfortable real easy. And so when it happened, it was like, okay, this is terrible. Now what? Okay, you just attack it. Get back physically, get better. But I'm gonna tell you, that injury made me figure out how tough I was mentally, really.
What year did it happen?
That was my senior year.
Oh, man.
Luckily, I was coming back for 5th semester because of the student teaching, and I started late.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to play, but it was at that time where I had some people tell me, man, you won't be the same physically and those things. And I love that. When you say that to me or anybody I'm passionate about, we're going to figure it out. We're going to try to prove you wrong. And just to grind back from that, it was hard. It was harder mentally. The physical part, I mean, that's one thing, but the mental part of getting back from an injury like that and trying to compete with your peers, that was the toughest part. But man, I figured out what I was about, what type of guy I was, very quickly. And then the part where I started watching the game and the practices, you talking about preparation, and I started thinking like a coach. That's when it was kind of a little bit back here.
Yeah.
Maybe I do want to coach, and sincerely, I really started thinking about it. But that was the best thing that ever happened to me, and it slowed me down a little bit. It did. It slowed me down a little bit because I'm gonna tell you, I was probably a coach's worst nightmare because I was a workaholic, and I was a gym rat, and when we supposed to be having active recovery, I was that guy swooping back around, sneaking in, doing more drills or lifting more. When between practices we're supposed to be ice bathing, and this is back when we had real football camps. You had a morning and an afternoon.
Oh yeah, 2 days, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be there backpedaling. So as I get older, I think about. I said, I know what. I probably tore my ACL because I wore myself down.
Mm-hmm.
So
and when you said it slowed you down, I hear you saying that more mentally, not physically, like, oh, okay, I need to do what I'm told, rehab and workout wise, not less, and not over. And I love how you said that you get to start watching things and seeing things as a coach would see it. You could start seeing the different aspects of what goes into the non-athlete side of it.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yep. So how did the comeback, what did you do? I'm a little bit lost on the timeline. You said it was your senior year, you tore your ACL. Did you get a football and a track season after rehab, or what were you able to get in?
Yeah, I did. And it worked out. I have no regrets about it. I played okay, football wise. Broke my ankle, same leg, ACL. The red shirt year, the year I came back, I was leading the country, and I think it was like 3rd in kick returns, and had a couple interceptions, and tore my ankle up. But I was able to get back the last 2 games, and the visual was I had an ACL brace on my knee and an ankle brace on the ankle. And I laugh my butt off sometimes because if I look out there and I see a free safety out there look like a robot, I'm going at you, baby. I'm going at you. And I laugh because no one really tested me, when I probably was 80%.
Right.
So I played okay, and then I went in a track season, and I think I was better for it, being a 400 hurdler. I didn't have to go 0 to 60. And I was a stronger type guy anyway, so I could get going, and I can alternate legs. So it helped me out, and I was blessed. I finished my career, and I was able to play an all-star game and did well in that. And in 2012, I got inducted to my college Hall of Fame. So
wow.
I guess I did a couple things right. Some people felt.
Yeah, holy cow, man. Congratulations. That's a big
Thank you.
deal. When people talk about Hall of Fames, whether it's their high school, county, or school, or college and whatnot, that's always a big deal because literally thousands of people have gone through, whether it's your high school, college, etc. So for you to be picked, that's phenomenal, man. Holy cow, that's really cool. So when was it during your rehab or after or even before? When did, okay, you know what? I'm not supposed to teach. I'm actually supposed to coach collegiately. When did that start? You said you already kind of alluded, it was kind of in the back of your head, like a little nugget was there. When did that nugget grow and become like, okay, I'm seeking this path?
To this day, I think they set me up.
How many college coaches right now are like, I feel that too.
My dean of students was one of my mentors, Roseanne Gill Jacobson, and then the head football coach, Dale Armstrong. I think Coach called me in on a Monday, and I think she got me like that Tuesday, and just said, "Hey, you might want to think about coaching." And this is my senior year, and I laughed at both of them again, but then they gave me reasons why, and it wasn't like the X's and O's per se, it was the development of young people, and I can give back, and I had a story, and so that hit me in my chest there. So I said, I'm young. I grew up 45 minutes from here. If they're offering me a job, to give it a try, give it 2 years and see what happens. And I graduated in 2000 and went into coaching right after. Then by 2004, I was a head coach.
So they obviously saw some leadership qualities into that. That's what they were talking about, not just the X's and O's, as you mentioned. What leadership qualities did you exhibit through college? Were you captain of any of the teams? Were you a president of a graphics art club? What did you do activities wise and leadership wise?
Yeah, I was a 3-year captain of both. Or if you look at my resume, there's sometimes you'll read it, it'll say 4 years of one. And I'm really proud for this because I learned a lesson with it. I got voted captain my sophomore year, or the second half of my freshman year, like a second tier captain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I got that stripped from me because it went to my 19-year-old head.
Oh, interesting. You're like, wait, I'm a freshman, I'm a captain, I'm the man.
Yeah, they put me on this, this leadership council, this junior captain, and my head got swelled up bigger than it is now, and I didn't handle it the right way.
Well, no, that's a good lesson. We want to bring as much value to people as we can, right? So if you're willing to be authentic and humble yourself, which I know you, so I already know this answer, I believe. What were some of the things that you exhibited when you talk about, you let it get to your head? What were some of the negatives that became part of your posture, if you will, that had to kind of be knocked back down and learn what real leadership is? Can you remember anything?
I was doing too much. I was overdoing things and not being authentic on the reason why they asked me to just step in that role anyway. I took it from 0 to 60, and I was disrupting some relationships that I had built in my short time there. And so that was the best thing they did for me was knock me back down, and then that's why I say, truthfully, I was a 3-year captain in 2 sports, and that got me going, and if I could generally say, if you ask any of my teammates like why, what was the leadership, they'll say my work ethic and practicing what I preach, and.
So those are, I was going to ask, were you more of a vocal or watch me type leader, but you just gave examples of a watch me type leader, like see how I do. I'm not going to be the yeller. I'm not going to be the motivational speaker. I'm going to be the guy that you see and, oh, he's always lifting. He's always yes or no, sir, to the coach or those kind of things. So you just gave those examples. So it's safe to assume you were that kind of a watch me type leader, at least at that point.
I was both, but the reason why I could be that vocal guy, because I was putting in the grind. Because I was out working people. So I can get up in front of the team and say, hey, coach said we got to run 30 40s. We running 40 of them. All right. You know, I could be that passionate speaker, call a senior out, but get on the line with them because I was doing it already. It wasn't the opposite. You want to rah, but did you come to practice 2 minutes before you're supposed to start? You know, or you're in the back of the line, or you're the energy vampire. So it wasn't that. It was the opposite side. Because I was doing those things, you know, I was able to be that high energy voice guy also.
We could talk for hours just on the two words you said right there, the energy vampire. And if you don't know that term, you're listening, go Google it, go research about people that give you energy and people who take your energy. It is it'll really help you understand your circle, who you surround yourself with.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully internally how you are towards other people as well. So we may have to come back to a part 2 future date and just
I would love
because that is huge. That is huge right there. I love the leadership of beyond reproach, meaning, okay, if I'm going to call out a captain for not touching the line on each of the wind sprints, well, I'm able to do that because I always touch the line on my wind sprints. I love that leadership. You know, there's a bunch of different forms of leaderships and philosophies of leadership, and one of them is do what I say, not as I do.
Right.
We may have all heard that. We may have had parents who did that, big brothers, teachers, team captains, managers, or whatever role you might be in. We may have heard that or seen that where someone says, yeah, you need to do X, Y, Z, but I don't do it because I'm in this role. I like that was not the type of leadership you exemplified. You were the leader of no reproach, meaning you ain't gonna call me. I'm not gonna allow you to call me out on anything because I'm always going to do it. I'm always going to be the rep king, again, respect king, right? Yes sir, no sir, those kind of things. Yeah, it's a good example. So you did it. You took the plunge. You took the. I think you said your dean or your provost challenged your. Said that. So you did it. You did you go straight into coaching at Teal?
Yeah. Yep. I at one point when I graduated, I was football, track, and I was an assistant director of multicultural affairs, and I was a resident director.
I mean, I've heard of a lot of hats, but holy cow! I mean, that's a lot of hats right there. Yeah. Okay, I'm the coach right now. Okay, I'm the director of this. Okay, and I'm an RA, residence life type person. Holy cow, man! Is that because though coaching pays nothing, and so you had to do that just to survive, or was that a passion of I wanted to serve others?
It was my dean's setup. It was her blueprint, man, because she's about serving others, and she knew I needed to be in those other areas to impact, but to also grow. And it didn't stop when I was a young coach. When I became the head coach at Teal, I was the head men's and women. I was still a football coach. Now I was the director of multicultural affairs, and I was still helping in student services there. But I'm telling you, the balance was awesome. Like I needed it. When I used to hand people my business card, they used to go.
Yeah, was it an extra big one? It just kept, the titles kept going down.
But it helped my days go faster. But I was servicing different type of students. I was able to be around different type of leaders and learn a lot from them. And that helped me. That helps me to this day as a head coach. The early days having all those duties.
I was going to ask if you were coaching football or track or both, but you just answered that though. You were coaching both?
Mm-hmm.
When did you just start coaching track and field?
It was 2005. I had got married 2003, and I said, you know what? I love football, but I love this woman more. I love this family more. So I had to make a decision. And then obviously it was track. And my college was great, man. They let me kind of wean myself out because they knew how passionate I was about football. So I volunteered and just kind of just slid my way out of there. And being an alum too, like when I was still there, like I would watch the games on the sideline, because it was in me, But that's when I knew though. I said, man, this football life is rigorous, as far as just being away from home. And so I knew at that time, I said, I got to make a different move here.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Not having been a football coach, but I know track is rigorous and long hours and travel. But at that point in your career, football over-indexed on that versus track. And so, okay, that's why it wasn't necessarily a passion thing, like, oh yeah, I just love track more and things like that. It was really, I love my wife more and my family. So I want to go to the place where I don't have to travel as much, film room 24/7, those kind of things that maybe come along with coaching football. I always think about, I got into coaching track and field. I ran and played football both in high school. Was horrible, so I never got to run in college. I always tell people I had horrible coaches, and I love them to death. So if they're listening right now, they know I love them, and they would admit they were not track coaches; they were football coaches. But I always tell people, even if I had you as my coach, Clyde, I still wouldn't have been good enough to run in college. I'm sorry, man. Genetically, the lottery did not hit there, buddy. Let me tell you. But I loved track and I loved football. And when I went to Chicago to go to college, outside of my fraternity was this high school, De La Salle High School. The football field was right there. And I remember after my freshman year, I was like, I miss sports. Maybe I should coach. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. And for some reason, when I went and I called the track coach. And luckily, he was looking for a full-time assistant. I became the assistant, then the head coach. And, you can listen to other podcasts from my career. But I always wonder sometimes, especially now, sitting back at 43 years old, I'm like, what if I would have called the football coach?
Yeah.
Would I be Nick Saban's assistant right now? would I may be more miserable because of the hours and all that, but I might be making $1 million. I don't know, man. Just, we talked earlier before we hit the record button, life gives you got paths you choose.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad that I chose the track path. But I wonder what that other path looks like. What's that alternative universe look like? Well, I'm glad for track's sake that you also thought football was way too much to do in a family. I'm super happy for us as stuck with track. So what was it like the first year after you stopped volunteering, the first year you were fully track coach? I mean, did you feel like, holy cow, I got a lot of time, man, I need to get some hobbies or something?
I was trying to, it's two parts of this. I was trying to turn around a program. So I didn't have any downtime. I was grinding, didn't have a lot of staff. And at the same time, I needed to do that because I was miserable because I just missed football.
Oh, sure.
And we had just got that thing turned around and we're rolling, we made the playoffs a couple of times. But when I had to click, when it clicked and it dawned on me, it said, you're an alum also, so be a fan now, be proud, so that helped there. But I was working so hard to turn the program back around, I just didn't have time to stress and worry about it because the grind got real, went to another level.
And so you graduated, did you say you graduated 2000? Mm-hmm. You went straight into coaching, and did you say you became the head coach in 2004?
Yeah.
So you're roughly 26, 25? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What in the world is a 26-year-old? I don't care if you're an alum or not. What are you doing as the head coach, right? Like, what were the challenges? Were you really ready, or did you kind of grow into the role?
We sped up a little quickly here. Here's something else I'll drop on you, man. As a freshman, I was a freshman in college. January 26, 96, my son was born.
You're 18.
Yeah.
And you just got one of the most important roles you can have, dad.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind.
I'm starting to understand where there is now this advance of maturity. Again, you had two forks to take.
Yeah.
You could become, okay, I'm going to be in this kid's life, my son's life, I'm going to be a father and be responsible. Or you could be like, yeah, I'm still a college kid, I'm going to party or whatnot. Okay. So I wondered, you said that date, like off the top of your head, and I was like, oh, something big happened that day. Yeah, you had a kid, man. Holy cow. Okay. So you have a son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So he's sitting on my lap in my office, It was in December. We were supposed to be going to the Kent State meet, that early meet there.
Mm-hmm.
And the dean came off and said, hey, come on in and bring Braylon with you. It's cool. She did that all the time. She had a great relationship with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, cool. She goes, how would you like to be our head track coach? And I'm like, who?
You talking to him? But he's too young. You talking to me? Because I'm too young.
And I laughed at her, you know, and
wait, so hold on. Was this unexpected? Meaning, did you like where's the other head coach, the current head coach at this time?
He's still on campus, but he was wearing so many hats. I mean, he was men's, women's track, soccer. You know how some D3 schools are.
Yeah.
And just try and give him a better quality of life.
So it wasn't like awkwardness of like, hey, we're going to fire this guy. Do you want to replace? And you were working for him. It was. Right. Hey, much like you, football and track. Hey, I'm going to focus over here. He was doing soccer and other things. He's going to focus over here. Yeah. If we have the right person, and we think we do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because I even before I took that, before I told her yes, I had to talk to some people, and he was one of them. You know, and he
coach.
Excuse me.
The what we now know as the former head coach.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he said you'd be foolish not to.
Oh, and I didn't even connect the dots here. A little slow. He was your coach in college, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I had him for 1 year, my senior year. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a relationship there.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Some loyalty, like, oh man, that was my coach, and I was, he was my boss. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I obviously I agreed. You know, and that started. I was the youngest coach, obviously, in the conference and in the region over there. And that got the ball rolling as a head. And I look back, I keep all my practice plans. I still have my practice plans, my travel agendas. I have a lot of that stuff. And every now and then I go back to it and I laugh my butt off.
Like, what were you thinking?
What was I thinking? And I made a lot of mistakes, man, you know. And then and at the same time, I was asking a lot of questions and trying to get a lot of help from people. But it was good for me, you know.
Did you have relationships with other coaches, whether they were off camp, like other track coaches, whether they were assistants or head coaches that, you know, is there anybody in mind? Maybe we can give them a shout out that, you know what, if it weren't for him or her, I wouldn't have survived. They were just instrumental in allowing me to ask questions.
Well, I made a loop of calls, you know, obviously Bill Ross, and then Jack Lee Palmer, who's the current football coach at Teal. Just an awesome guy, you know, to talk to about recruiting and administrative things and being on task. And so then I called, went back around, called my summer track coach, Lawrence Underwood. I called George Williams, my brother's coach at St. Aug. And I just remember the afternoon I did. I started like 7 a.m, write my list, and I got done probably like 4 with calling these folks. Cyrus Jones from Lincoln University, I called him. Gary Aldrich, who recruited me when he was at Flippy Rock, he got a call. And I still have that notebook, those notes, you know, and I go back to, I'm a filer, man. I keep stuff that I need to go back to kind of humble myself. But I made all those calls, and it helped. It helped. Dennis Harris, who was at Case at the time, I called him. Mm-hmm. But then the you know, I think 2 of the most important calls was one to my mom, and then I swung back around, and my dean of students, who's a mentor of mine, Rosanne Jacobson, I said, now I'm going to ask you about this, not as an employee, as a coach. If I was your son, what would you tell me? You know, and she got teary-eyed, and then she went in and told me why, and that's when I said, okay, I can do this, and be okay with making some mistakes and you know, hitting some bumps there. Because at this point, man, it was bigger than me. I was a young dad. I had to get this right.
Right. Yeah. You're not just doing it for yourself anymore, right?
No.
So with the luxury, you know, this was do we say 04? So this is 16 years now. So now we have the luxury of experience and time. We can look back. Mm-hmm. Now looking back in 2004 and 2005, first, you know, year or two that you were the head coach, what do you now realize? Oh man, I was so woefully unprepared. What aspect was that for you?
Uh,
Paperwork
I
or
have to say,
studying? Yeah,
I have to say, slowing down a bit.
that's a theme. That's a theme
Yeah,
for you. All
yeah.
right. Mm-hmm.
I was a go-getter. You know, grinding, grinding, grinding. I had to slow down.
Mm.
I was running these, these two programs. I had to slow down and teach
Mm.
instead of get workouts in. Da, 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 like, get your practice plan. I had to slow down, and then I had to learn how to mentor young people the right way. And to learn how to listen. Like there's 50-year-old men and women that can't listen. Because what we tend to do is we already think about a comeback while someone's telling us something. So I had to learn how to listen, and that helped. And that once again going back to everything I started doing as a coach, I had to reflect on the little boy I had. So it was real, but like I said, it was all part of the path, and I needed it all.
How was you go from an assistant to a head? I'm assuming you had assistant coaches. How was it, your relationship with assistant coaches, annual evaluations, hiring, firing, mentoring them to fulfill their dream? Maybe they want to be a head coach one day. How was that experience at such a young age?
Well, a couple of them, we didn't have many on staff. They were either my age or I was younger than them.
Right. Yeah.
So the beauty, I was picking their brains, the two that were older than me. But I had to learn how to delegate. I didn't know how. I didn't know how to delegate. It was, I can do it. I don't want you to stress it. Take care of your group. A, B, C, and D. I had to learn how to delegate and understand how that was better for the team.
We're so used to, as coaches, having control, right? You say practices at 3, kids generally show up at 3. You say, go move those hurdles over there so we can do a dynamic warm-up. They move. You tell your assistant coach to book hotel rooms for the indoor season. They do it.
Yeah.
So it is hard. My experience with coaches around the country of giving up, because that's what delegating is. It's giving up control. It's allowing someone else to make their own decisions and their own mistakes. And you, as the leader, the head coach, being okay with it and helping them learn from those mistakes and giving pats on the back when they do things right. But it's that loss of control, I think, is what trips up coaches. And by the way, here in the private sector, managers, same thing. The hardest part for us is to become delegators is, but I have to give away control, but I know how to do it. I know how I like it done. Yeah. When did you, again, looking back now over 16 years, after 15 plus years of coaching, when do you think you finally kind of, I don't want to say mastered delegation because we're always working, but when did it become like, okay, I'm able to trust myself to trust my assistants now. I'm kind of in a good place for delegation. So I'm able to slow down and not take the whole program on my shoulders. Have you had a chance to have that yet?
Yeah, that was my last year till it was 08 because we finally had some pieces in place. Like I had some coaches, some volunteers, some stipend coaches, finally had a staff that they worked hard to get me. And I'd say 2008, where it was like, okay, this is good, and once again, after picking some other coaches' brains on delegation, I figured it out, and I put them in a position that would help them succeed. And I remember one specific incident, one of my coaches was really uncomfortable with a duty that I gave him, but I said, hey man, you got to be uncomfortable to get better at it. So like this is like a challenge, like you give your jumpers. I need to give you this challenge. And he got great at it, so yeah, it was 08 where I started where I figured it out.
I love that you said that. Literally just today in the coaches collab group, two men who I'm going to say their name, and you are instantly going to smile because they're some of the greatest men and coaches I know, Brooks Johnson and Mike Holloway.
Absolutely.
Both of them were on a thread today, and they were talking to a younger coach and a mentoring a little bit here in the group. And both of them said, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable if you want to be successful. You don't have to. You can stay in a very comfortable bubble and just not grow and not be successful. So I love that you said you finally, for that coach who maybe exhibited fears and was like, coach, I'm sure I'm the right person.
Right.
You're like, hey, you know what? You might not be the right person, but you're going to have to try, and you'll grow from it one way or the other. That's the only way we're ever going to find out. I love that pushing an assistant to get better, and you getting better there of like, hey, you know what? Maybe in the past you would have been like, hey, you know what? You're uncomfortable. Okay, fine, I'll do it.
Right.
But instead you're like, you know what? No. Let's try it. This may be successful, maybe a disaster, but you know what? We're going to grow together in this journey. So you, in 2008, that was your last year at Teal. And you go into your current place at Wabash College, correct? And tell us about, so you're this is an amazing stat to me. You are the third head coach Wabash College has had since World War II.
Yeah.
That is a phenomenal stat. It makes me feel even worse that I've not visited Wabash College, because there must be something special there that people go there and stay there and thrive there. Tell us about the person you replaced, because they must have been there for a long time and were legendary or not. So tell us about that.
The person I replaced was Rob Johnson, who was here for 32 years, got here like 72 or something like that.
Wow.
And, he was on a 2000 Olympic staff. I believe was the first D3 coach to be blessed to do that. And, and taking, people always ask me, was there some pressure to try to fill his shoes?
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for stealing my question. That's exactly what I was going to ask. Yes.
And at the time, we had a cross-country coach here who was an alum, Roger Bush, and he was here a couple years prior to me, and we made an agreement. I said, and it was a joke. We'd say, I'll try to fill his left shoe, you try to fill his right shoe.
I'm sure it felt like that sometimes.
And I gotta say, I didn't feel pressure trying to fill his shoes, because I wrapped him up, man. I learned a lot from him, and he's become a great mentor to me, man. And I owe him a lot. He helps and volunteers on the team. And
to this day?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. To have that resource.
And, everybody loves him and know him. Like, he just been somebody great to bounce things off of when things are dark. There's one thing that, to have these happy-go-lucky when things are going well, but, to have somebody to talk to that's seen it all, that has been a blessing. So, some people may think I'm, blowing smoke at him, but it wasn't no pressure to fill his shoes. Because here's the pressure was, I put enough pressure on myself, because I tell my staff this, I tell my team this, and you can pick someone on the roster right now and go call them and they'll tell you this. I say, I'm 44. The good Lord put me here for a reason. Take all your pressures off of you and give it to me, and I can handle it. Go ahead and make some mistakes. If you do it the right way and you follow the protocol and it don't work out, put it on me. It's just, I got you, So I said I could handle it, and just learned a lot from him. And it's been great to have him around.
It's hard to have negative outside pressure when you have so much positive pressure internally. When you expect the bar to be here yourself, it's hard for outside voices and it's like, what are you saying? You have no idea what I say to myself inside. I expect way more out of me than what you do.
Right. It's spot on, man. Absolutely.
Well, so you go to Wabash. Wabash is D3. Teal is D3.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming all up here in the Midwest. I assume they're basically the same kind of schools, culture, etc. Am I off base here? You're laughing at me on my own show, Clyde. I'm just so hurt right now. Uh, how
You
far
seem
off
like
am I?
you seem like a man that can handle when you're wrong.
Oh, well, wait, have you been talking to my wife? Hold on a second here, man.
Hey,
That's hurtful. So hurtful.
hey, Mike, completely different places, man.
Okay, tell us about
I
that.
mean, let's just go facility wise. We didn't have an indoor outdoor track at Teal. In '08, we finished eighth in the nation indoor.
Wow, holy cow.
Uh, Wabash, beautiful indoor, beautiful outdoor. Uh, the academic reputations. I love my alma mater to death, but nowhere near Wabash.
Okay.
How rigorous it was.
So start there. Tell us, what is Wabash known for? What do most people come to major in there at Wabash?
We get guys that come in. Our med school and our law is unbelievable, and now our CIBE programs.
Mm-hmm.
And we love to say, no matter what your major is, you get there from here. I got guys on my teams on my team that have gone on to be engineers, and we don't have engineering.
What? That's kind of impressive, yeah.
And a lot of that is our phenomenal professors figuring out how to make it work and get you there, and our alumni networking.
How many student body roughly? Since we're comparing, and we're not comparing to say one school is better than the other,
right?
Trying to get a sense of the differences in schools and being a head coach at one versus the other. How many students comparatively?
And at the time, when I left, Teal had 1,200, and when I got here, Wabash had 920 men.
Oh, so
and
so that's a difference too.
Yeah,
Wabash is men's only.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yep. You might be one of the few men's only programs then in the country.
Hampton City, they don't got track or cross. Morehouse does. They have both. But yeah, that's it. So there were two different places, and so I knew you were recruiting two different type of young men that I was recruiting before. So I had to figure that out and take the challenge there.
What were the struggles when you first got there? Because you're coming off Teal, you're coming off eighth in the nation. I feel like you've maybe earned the title of coach. Like, okay, I know how to do this now. What struggles did you have when you got to Wabash?
Trying to convince 18-year-old men to come to a rigorous school, expensive, with no ladies.
Now that's interesting, because I believe you said when you were 17, 18-year-old, mom had to tell you, hey, I don't know very many women who like men who did not get good grades. And so you are now almost channeling your mom's words to recruits. Amazing how it all comes around. I hope you told mom that and be like, hey, mom, thank you so much, because I'm doing this every day now.
Yeah. So that was the initial challenge, but I figured it out by going around. When I first got here, I went around to every coach in the department and asked them how they do it.
Oh, interesting.
I went to a couple faculty members and asked them to give me another staff member. I went to them. And then Coach Johnson gave me a list of 5 coaches to go see in Indianapolis. So I went and saw them. And I told them to give me 3, and that was, I can't make this up. That was all within a month and a half. And I was just grinding. Didn't make a single call yet, email, anything. Because I couldn't, because I had to figure out how to sell the place from my chest. The website can only do so much for you. So I had to go out and figure it out and internalize it all so it can flow, and then I just went and took off.
I like that philosophy of having to learn and believe in something before you sell it, right? I have a huge soft spot for coaches who coach at their alma mater. Because when I think about, I was at five different institutions in my career. When I was at my alma mater, like when I would call a recruiter, like, you know what, you know how I can prove, like, my action tells me that this is the greatest school in the world and it's for you. it's because I went to school here. Like,
Right.
what's a bigger
Right.
testament? Not that coaching, most coaches don't coach at alma mater, but you have to have a belief, and it can't be just of yourself, by the way,
Right.
because the kid's not going to school just for you. They're going to school for their major, for the other coaches, for the team, the area, the region, etc. So you have to, the ones that are successful, I believe, have to believe in it first. And so you really took that in heart and almost like homework, like, okay, let me figure out what everybody else likes about this. What did I'm curious what the other coaches at Wabash, the track and field team, coaching staff seems to have longevity. Robert was there for 30 plus years. The person before that had to be there for, I don't know history very well, so I'm going to say 30 plus years, but some history buff is going to email me like, hey, World War II, I'm like, yeah, sorry, man. But had to be there for a long time. Is there that same kind of tradition in the other coaches? Like, has the tennis coach been there for 20 plus years? And then what did those coaches, what was their feedback?
Our basketball coach, Mac Petty, he was there also 30 plus years and won a national championship here. And, you know, now when I think back, a lot of our programs, man, you know, since I've been here, people come and they stay for a while, you know, and that just goes back to what we said earlier, the people, you know, and I tell recruits and families all the time, if it wasn't a good place and they didn't take care of you and your family, I would have been gone because there were opportunities, you know. And so the way I work, I got to be able to come into an environment where it's positive and it's fun, you know, and people think grinding is fun, but know that you got to have that balance too. I don't like negative vibes. When I feel them, I attack them. And sometimes you hear attack, and that's kind of like, whoa, no, I don't. If I feel them on Tuesday, we're gonna have a conversation on Tuesday. That's what I mean by attacking.
You don't hide from them.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm going to give an example here, which is ludicrous if you knew me, because I remember I went to high school and college in the state of Alabama, so math is not my strong suit. Okay. But when you said negativity and you attack it, I actually thought of two negatives, and I don't mean attacking in the negative, but it's not an uplifting, right? Attacking, I'm going after, and I got the negativity. And if we remember right, and boy, I hope I'm right in this. I'm not kidding when I say math is not my strong suit. A negative times a negative is a positive.
Right.
So if someone brings a negative attitude, you meet it head on. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait to, you know, let's figure this out.
Yeah.
That creates a positive situation.
Yeah. Yep. And that's been my experience here. And also I think part of it too, I'm never looking at, I was like this at too. I wasn't looking at a timeline saying I'm gonna be here for so many years and try to go here and there. You just 12 years now, I just put my nose to the ground and I grind and enjoy the people around me. I enjoy my teams. And then one day you go, wow, I've been here 5 years. And then you keep doing it, then you go, man, it's been 8. You know, then you go, wow, it's been 12. Here's the difference though, it's been 12 years. I'm not saying it's been 12 years.
Right.
12 years, man. It's been 12 years.
Yeah. Well, that begs the question again. Maybe I'm the only one who begs this question because I have just such a soft spot for alums at their alma mater. Why did you leave? What was how did you know it was right time to leave your alma mater? I mean, it gave you your education, your son, etc., to go to Wabash.
I had heard about, like always, I could hear about different jobs with post when I was at Tilden, and I would run them by certain mentors, and they were like, "Nah, not your fit." And then a friend of mine, who's our current basketball coach, Artina Trader, told me the Wabash job open, and I kind of went, "Okay, I've heard of the place, but I'm good." And she was like, "No, you probably should look at it." So I kind of blew it off. And then my wife was on her staff coaching basketball at the time, and she said the same thing. Just look at something, you know. And so I did, you know. And then I was at nationals. It was held at Ohio Northern, and then their assistant coach and one of their qualifiers at the time came up to me. My stuff was already in, and just introduced herself to me, and you know. And so and I kept trying to make excuses why not. And then my dean said, you need to look at it, and it may be time to leave the nest. I'd never thought about leaving the nest.
Yeah.
And when she said that, I was like, oh, wow. you
Wow,
know.
indeed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I remember she was in tears the day before I went to the interview because she said, "You're gonna go, you're gonna knock their socks off, and you're gonna leave us because in its time, it's the right place. Can't make it up, you know." And here we are now. But wasn't looking, just wasn't on my mind, and it didn't happen.
Did you,
I'll
when
be
you
honest,
went,
like my interview started like at 7:30 in the morning and it ended at like 4 p.m. I didn't go after it till about 11:15.
what do you mean by that?
I was just going through the interview because people said I should, right?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
And then around 11:15, I just started opening my eyes up and getting a feel for the place. And then we took a little break. I went and got some water, and it was on then. I really went after it, and I said, I want to come to this place. I think we can do something special here. But that's just being honest. I tell that story all the time. I'm not going to blow smoke. I said, probably in the middle of the interview, I said, so I was like, all right, let me go after this thing. You know.
Yeah. And that
Here
was
we are.
11, 12 seasons ago, 12 years ago?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. So how has it been? What you obviously by 12 years now, you and it's a continuous process, but you've built your culture into the program. You've ingratiated yourself to the campus itself. You know professors and different clubs and sports and what have you. How's it gone in the 12 years?
It's been great. You know, it's been ups and downs. We've been through some storms, but that's what it's about. You look at it on paper and you go, wow, these conference championships and done thing and rankings and regionals and nationals and turning the program around and blessed with great staff and athletes. But you know, there were some dark times. I'm proud that we went through also because it helped us grow. And I don't trade any of that. You know, not any of those experiences. And my only regrets is, you know, when I walk in our field house and I see some of the banners up there, I say, man, shame on you, because there was some I didn't celebrate because I didn't take the time to. And here it is again. I needed to slow down again because you went back to back or three in a row, and then you're just focused on the recruiting class and the next one and this and those things. And we had a speaker come to our campus a couple of years ago, and he talked about slowing down. I start laughing to myself again and celebrating and enjoying things. But there's not a time I don't go in our field house. I look at three banners and I go, and I should be excited about them. And I know, no lie, I go, man, shame on you, coach. Like you did not celebrate and experience them enough.
You know,
the
the
right way.
grind and hustle are words that we celebrate in entrepreneurship and coaching and athleticism. And there is certainly positive impacts to those. There's also that negative. And when you use a really strong word there, you know, regret. You know, that's one of the things I never want anybody to go through, regret.
Yeah.
But when you look at them and you see the years on the banners or whatnot, because you didn't slow down to celebrate those performances, the positivity, the championship, the camaraderie, everything that goes into winning a championship, you actually disrespect the process. You disrespect the people
Yep.
that they put there. That may be the only championship a kid or a trainer or an academic advisor or a coach gets. And because you are like, oh, I got to grind. And when I say you, not you, Clyde Morgan, you, the coach or parent, by the way, or private. I mean, there's a lot of similarities here because you just, well, I got to grind and hustle and next season starts today on the championship trophy, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, man, you do have to slow down. I love this theme that's coming out of this, Clyde, is slow down. What's the proverbial smell the roses, enjoy the trophy, enjoy the people that blood, sweat, and tears that created that. And then in the appropriate time, get ready for next year because the cycle repeats. But yeah, I hate that you have to look up there and see that and feel
I'll
that.
give you an example. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No, good.
You hit that spot on, man. It gave me chills. I'll give you an example. In 2013, I remember doing this. The guys are getting on the bus. They got the trophy. They're excited, right? And I'm immediately texting recruits, telling them we won, and this, that. I'm working, and my my track and field family are celebrating. I look over, one of my assistants, he's doing the same thing. I look behind me, another assistant, same thing. They're working, right? And then back to this year, we were blessed to win the 2020 championship, right? This year, I'm sitting in the middle of the bus with the guys. And I'm laughing and I'm celebrating and I'm going to a different seat and I'm checking on somebody, you know, and
what were your assistant coaches doing?
The same thing, just enjoying it. You know, we were enjoying it, you know. I just remember going to the back of the bus and taking a selfie with the peace sign with one of my guys to his girlfriend. We won, you know, it was two different bus rides, you know. But I'm telling you, when I walk in that field house, I look at there's 3 banners I look at, and we've been blessed. We got a bunch up there. And I kind of go, you know, and it just kind of hits me and I go, man, like, and I remember that after that third one, I heard that speaker, I said, that will not happen again, you know. And that's why this year, just during the meet, we're coaching our bus off, but I'm walking around telling my coaches, man, we told them it's a regular meet and to have fun. Keep having fun, man. This is awesome. This is a 2-day track meet, you know. So I remember to walk around and just soak it in and not knowing if you were up 10 points or down. Because like you said, that's unfair to those guys and young ladies that this may be their first and only, you know. So once again, slow it down a little bit.
You described 2 different bus rides. And you also described one great story, one great example of the definition of leadership, right? On that first bus ride, you were in no celebration, immediate grind and hustle mode, texting. And that's why I asked, what did your assistant coaches do? Boom, boom, boom. Hey, that's the head coach. I take my cues from the head coach. The second bus ride's like, hey, we're a family. We always say that. Well, then I like to, you know, act like it. Then don't just say it, do it. And so we're taking pictures, we're celebrating, we're having fun. And I said, well, what were the assistant coaches doing then? Having fun, enjoying, taking pictures. That is leadership right there. If you're a head coach and you're mad at your assistant coach for something, you might want to look in the mirror first. I'm just gonna put that out there. I just challenge, you know, there's some head coaches right now might be a little mad at me going, I don't think so, Mike, but I'm gonna challenge you right there. Yeah. So, man, hey, you know what, Clyde? We could talk for hours. Like, I am so stoked, first of all, just to get to know you so much better. And we learned so much about you. I can't say thank you enough for your humbleness and authenticity. We talked about some of your shortcomings today, and those aren't easy to talk about. But I'm just so thankful that you would to share those with us and share this with the audience, because it's all about bringing value to others. And so our hope here at Gill Athletics is having authentic conversations like this allow someone else, some other 22-year-old, maybe father, is thinking, I can't coach, I've got to be a dad, I got to do, you know what? I hate to say it this way, but if Clyde Morgan can do it, you can do it. Trust me. You know, you've got a meeting to run to. I've got to run to a meeting. We've got our all staff company meeting, and I just love celebrating with our teammates. We have to do it through video now, which I'd rather they're all around me, but we're doing video, but we do what we have to do. But I do want to, we didn't get to talk about this, so I'm going to beg, plead, and borrow that one day you come back, we'll do a part 2, because I would love to explore more of your leadership at Wabash. We didn't get a chance to talk about Chapel Talk. If you are listening, if you've enjoyed this conversation with Clyde, I just implore you, go to Google right now, type in his name, Clyde Morgan, and Chapel Talk. It'll bring up at least one video I know saw pop up, so maybe more of these. I don't want to give it away, but just you got to go see it. You talk about leadership, passion from the heart, really outpouring, mentoring of young people. That's what these are, and there's just so much value in those. So promise me you'll come back one day and we'll talk about those aspects.
Absolutely, man. This was a blessing. This was fun. I'd love to come back.
Awesome, man. I'm just so thankful for you, Clyde. I am, as we were talking, I kept that visual of, do I go football? Do I go track? The sport of track and field is better off for you picking the track. track.
Thank you. Thank you.
All puns intended, by the way. But I'm just so thankful. I can't imagine how many hundreds, maybe thousands of young student athletes have been blessed because you made that decision as well. And your family obviously has blossomed and become stronger through that. Wabash is definitely lucky to have you, whether you are there for 30 years or the calling moves to another school, man, the leadership follows with it. And I'm just so excited to see what the next 30 years brings for you and your career and the athletes that you have the opportunity to work with.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate you. This has been awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Clyde. Appreciate you being here today on the Gill Athletics Connections podcast. If you have enjoyed this episode, please rate, review. I don't know why. I just tell you, that's what every podcast tells me to tell you. So rate, review, all that kind of good stuff. But ultimately, here's what I would beg you to do. If you received value from this episode or any of the other episodes that we put out, to me, it's all about increasing value. Share with your network. Take this episode, one of the other episodes, take it to Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, smoke signals, whatever you like to do for social media. You'll bless someone else, and that is ultimately the best blessing I could ever receive, and us here at Gill Athletics. So thanks again for being with us today. Clyde, love you to death, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, my man. Be safe.
Thank you.